Am I the a-hole for my comment to my girlfriend's sister regarding her accomplishments? So I'm 26 male, usually I'm a very quiet and respectful person. But I don't deal with my girlfriend Kelly's 26 female sister Alexa 27 female at all. I think she's a crappy person, entitled and just not my cup of tea. Alexa was dating my friend Drew when me and Kelly met. Drew was the one who actually helped me get with Kelly in the first place, so I owe the guy a lot. Drew and Alexa were living together and he was supporting her career. She was in law school and he worked full-time. I didn't find this out till after, but he took out the loans for her to go, along with using his salary to pay their housing and paying for her classes. He was really proud of her budding career. Well, about a year ago, Alexa graduated from law school and within a week, broke up with Drew. Drew was heartbroken, and I was the one who found out most of the dirt about the finances. Alexa used him for 3 years for free school and dumps him a week after she graduates. This caused shockwaves in the family. Her parents were furious and Kelly wasn't a fan of her sister for months, but eventually everyone forgave her and acted like Drew never existed. It pissed me off bad, and I haven't said a word to her sister since. I won't address her whenever I'm forced to be around her. Alexa passed the bar and landed a job, so her parents threw her a celebration. I was asked to attend by Kelly. I refused, kept refusing, but eventually she broke down and said she needed me there. So we went, and I talked to the members of her family alike, mostly my girlfriend's dad. So Alexa got up to give a speech to thank people. So as she was in the middle of thanking different people for the help they gave her, I said, "Don't forget to include Drew," loud enough the whole room heard it. It got really quiet, then her dad cracked up and her mom tried to advance the speech. My girlfriend dragged me outside and tried yelling at me, followed by her mom. The conversation wasn't going well, so I called an Uber and left. My girlfriend is demanding I apologize. I told her I'd apologize when Alexa starts paying Drew back for the debts he is in now. And until then, I wouldn't say a kind word to her sister. And I plan on telling every single guy Alexa dates the story about what she did to Drew. Because as a guy, I'd like to know that info. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. I feel not the a-hole, but you, sir, are the brother and friend everyone needs in life. Tell Drew to take his ex to court. Might be able to get some of the money back. Drew made a decision to take out those loans. That's on him. It would at least smear her name with other attorneys. Drew should sue. Not the a-hole, but it really wasn't your place to do it at a party. But dang, kudos to you for that great line. You know, secretly everyone must have loved it except Alexa. For your own benefit, remember that your girlfriend didn't choose to have Alexa as her sister, but family's family and she's got to live with it. Honestly, I can't believe the parents threw her a party. What she did was so blatantly scummy. Me neither. I called it trashy to my girlfriend and her mom during the fight. Like, why would you celebrate this person? Prestige apparently trumps teaching your kid to be a decent person. Not stay home. Look closely at your girlfriend if she thinks this kind of behavior is okay. Starting to. Her being this supportive of her sister is a huge red flag to me. Next story is titled, "Am I the a-hole for not allowing my girlfriend's sister to move in and changing the locks?" So, a really messy situation. I, 27 male, have been dating my girlfriend Ashton, 26 female, for 2 years and we live in the house that I own. Ashton's finishing up her master's program, so I don't charge her rent. I pay for all the housing expenses, and in return she chips in on groceries, utilities, and some of the household chores. But I pay the lion's share of all household expenses. I'm cool with the situation till she graduates, and we have always communicated well. Until now. So Ashton has a hot and massive sister named Anna, 28 female. Anna's burned most of her bridges with her family. She has 2 kids by 2 different dads, been married and divorced twice, hops from one sketchy boyfriend to another, always in and out of work, and always complaining about her situation instead of actually doing anything to solve it. I gave up on her last year when she dated this loser who obviously didn't like kids, but she kept dating him against me and her sister's advice. Well, she moved into his place, and this Saturday we got a call that they were breaking up and she had nowhere to go this time. She hadn't been working and didn't have rent money. Ashton asked me if we could take them in. I said absolutely not. Her sister was a leech. Also, that I didn't want kids in my house. I work from home half the time and don't want 3 extra people in my space. Also, I don't want to get involved with her sister at all. I've supported her plenty over the last few years, rides, babysitting, etc., and I'm done. My girlfriend didn't take this well and said she would help her sister if she could. I said fine, let me know where you take her and I'll bring by some food, but it won't be my house. My girlfriend tried saying it was her house too, but I said when she started paying the mortgage, she can decide who lives here. So her sister tried calling me individually and I told her the same reasons and told her I'd bring food by when she finds a place. I also gave her the number of multiple organizations that could help her. She got offended. Well, I was at work yesterday, sales, and I noticed on my Ring camera Anna/her kids unlocking my front door with a bag on her shoulder. I called my girlfriend and asked her immediately what was going on. She said Anna needed a place to go for a few hours while her ex moved out of the apartment. I asked how she got in the house as I locked it. Ashton said she made Anna a key months ago in case she ever needed to get in. I was furious and told her to tell Anna to get out or I'll be calling the police. Ashton called and Anna left, but not before calling me an a-hole. So I decided today to change the locks and get a new garage access code. Ashton will have to request through the garage and I will give access. Ashton is upset, but I told her that this is gonna be the way it is until her sister finds a place. Because I can't trust I won't come home and find 2 kids and a woman living in my house. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole, and in my opinion, you need to think seriously about your relationship with Ashton. The fact that she went behind your back is a major red flag. I wouldn't make any rash decisions, but she's violated his trust in a big way here. Forgiving this once or twice is possible, but beyond that, it's game over. I don't think I could forgive the copying of my key without my knowledge or permission. Not the a-hole, but I think you need to reevaluate if you can trust Ashton. She way overstepped boundaries by making her sister a key without your permission. Yep, when my boyfriend had a roommate, he consulted him about getting me a key to the apartment if I wanted to get in when they weren't home. His roommate said he'd rather I didn't have a key, but didn't mind if I was already there when they left. That was respected because it was a shared living space. Not stay home. If she wasn't working when she lived with a boyfriend, what's going to make her work when she lives in your house? Exactly the point I made. Anna has a job currently, but I don't think she manages her money well. Your girlfriend is the bigger issue, I'm afraid. Despite your very clear hell no, she still tried to get the sister into your place. She clearly doesn't care that you are opposed to this. She's gonna keep trying. You may need to lose the girlfriend if you can't get her to stop enabling the sister. But do you really want to deal with that crap forever? Time to sit down and make it clear. Stop enabling sister or leave. Next story. Am I the a-hole for likely making my mother lose custody of my siblings? In 2018, my mother got married to the man she was cheating on my dad with for years. This already put a serious dent in the relationship I had with her. I moved out shortly after my stepdad moved in since he thought he suddenly owned everything in the house, including my work computer, PlayStation 4, etc. A few months after moving out, my brother, 18, called me in the middle of the night because our stepdad threw him out for stealing money and catching him in possession of hard drugs, all of which were and still are lies. I already had minimal contact with my mother by that point, and the day my brother moved in with me, I was met with a barrage of texts and calls of my stepdad that I had to bring my brother back with the money or else he'd come get him. I told him to shove it and try me. Fast forward until last year, they divorced because, surprise, he stole the money. He was also an alcoholic and an addict, and admitted to planting the substances in my brother's room. After the divorce and getting a restraining order, he started harassing neighbors. Showed up in the garden in the middle of the night to look inside through windows. Showed up at my sister's school. She's 12 at a time. She's still in therapy over this. It was also discovered that he's blacklisted in every bank in the country from starting loans because of massive debt. The relationship with our mother started healing a bit after this. Through our younger brother, we found out she wasn't home for 3 days straight. So my 18-year-old brother called her, and after some beating around a bush, She tells him he's with our ex-stepdad again. My brother hangs up and texts me this. After subduing my rage, I ask my 16-year-old brother and younger sister, now 14, if they still want to live there. They both say no, and I tell my father. About a week later, she served legal documents that state my father is trying to get full custody of my siblings because of my mother's actions. And according to her own lawyer, there's a high chance she'll lose them. She calls me in panic, and I tell her it's her own fault. She starts crying and screaming that I should be happy that she finally found true love. I ask her if it's worth it to lose all of her children over this, and she responds with insults towards me, my brothers, and my now fiancé. I tell her to never contact me again and hang up. I haven't heard from her since, but I've heard from other people that she's heartbroken that she's about to lose her children. But she's also blaming us and telling everyone that her kids don't want her to be happy and are always on their dad's side. Now, I'm not asking whether or not I'm the a-hole for cutting her out of my life. I'm fairly convinced it's the best thing for me personally. But I think I might have gone a little too far in giving my father more ammo, on top of what he already had, to take my siblings from my mother. I think it's the best for them. I just want to look out for them. So am I the a-hole here? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. It's great that your younger siblings have someone looking out for them. I couldn't add the following information because of the character limit, but my father also looks out for us a great deal. He isn't trying to just get custody to stick it to my mother. He just can't do much without it going through legal channels, because my mother screwed him over pretty bad during the divorce with lies and things that never happened. Well, your mom is now learning that the truth hurts. You've done nothing wrong. Children need to be protected, and you don't leave them at home alone to fend for themselves. Your sister is still in therapy after what happened when she was 12, and your mom disappears for 3 days to spend it with her abuser? OP, thank you for protecting your younger siblings. They need to get out of there. OP, I saved orphans from a burning building, but the arsonist is upset I spoiled her fun. Am I the a-hole? Just in case I end up at the top, not the a-hole. That actually gave me a good laugh. Thank you. When you put it like that, yeah, screw the arsonist. Sarcasm finally saves the day. I do know the world is messier, and until your father wins, this might get worse. But that doesn't mean you're not doing the right thing. Not to mention, there might be reasons your father didn't have any custody in the first place. Sorry though it might be, please help to make sure this isn't jumping from the frying pan into the fire. Go you. As far as I'm aware, the reasons why my mother got custody is because of a traffic misdemeanor that her lawyers used to label him as a criminal, and some other things that were blatant lies. But she was somehow able to convince the court that these claims were true. Our father let me look at all the legal documents of the divorce during the proceedings, because he thought he owed his children full transparency. I haven't caught him in a single lie on anything. He always tells how it is. He looks like the typical biker dude, tall, burly, tattoos, but he's an absolute sweetheart that always looks out for his children. He has always taken us before anything else. He even sold his motorcycles for my brother to be able to pay for college as a gift. There's not a single bad bone in his body. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for telling my wife that if her sister and brother-in-law need a place to stay, they can live in a camper? My wife and I have been married for 4 years and live on a hobby farm I purchased before we started dating. We have just under 15 acres of land, grow our own food, and have some chickens, goats, and pigs. I've also spent a lot of time and money updating and renovating the house, quite a bit of which my wife has helped with over the years. One of the upgrades we did was to redo the guest bedroom and bathroom. It's quite nice. Now, my sister-in-law and her husband recently fell in hard times. From what I've heard, it was about 50% bad luck and 50% bad decisions on her husband's part. As a result, they and their 3 kids are currently living in a motel. My wife brought up the idea of having them come stay with us until they get on their feet, but I haven't been too enthusiastic about the idea. Her idea is to have sister-in-law and husband take the guest room, and the kids can sleep on the couches/cots in the living room. We don't have a 3rd bedroom for the kids. Now, I've always been child-free by choice. Just never wanted them. I don't hate them, but also don't necessarily want to live with 3 of them either, especially if it's an open-ended living situation. My counter was to allow them to live in my old pop-up camper I have on the property. It's about 10 years old, but it's in great shape as I store it inside. It has enough sleeping space for all of them. A shower and toilet, mini fridge, AC, and heat. In my opinion, it's a pretty sweet camper. Also, and this is a little selfish of me, but I feel it would give them their own space while giving them a place to stay. But it would also maybe be just uncomfortable enough for them to not want to permanently stay, and to give them motivation to find a better option. I also told her that if they stay with us, I would expect them to help out with some chores, even the older kids who are 12 and 14. My wife hates that idea, and can't believe I would force her family to stay outside in the elements, and put them to work when we spent all the time and money to redo the spare bedroom. I told her that unless sister-in-law can give me a concrete move-out date, I don't want them and their kids living in our house indefinitely. She told me that they don't know the first thing about camping or farm work, and they need to focus on getting their lives straight and not worry about anything else. I told her that these are the conditions under which I am comfortable with them staying with us, and I'm not budging. She told me I am being a jerk and unreasonable and that she never expected this kind of behavior from me. The way I feel is that we are doing them a favor, and if we let them stay in the house, the temptation for them to get too comfortable is a lot greater than if they stay in the camper. I understand this could be seen as even a downgrade from living in a motel, but beggars can't be choosers. Not stay home. Open-ended guest situations almost never work out well. Even a newly and nicely renovated guest room is for guests that will be there for a defined time. A living room is a fun place for kids to crash for a visitor sleepover, not for an open-ended living situation. The camper seems like exactly the kind of compromise that anyone should be happy with. It is a lot of stress and really uncomfortable when you have to finally ask them to leave too. It tends to burn bridges. I am totally on the same page as you about the nice newly renovated guest room. In my family, we joke that we like to make the guest rooms comfortable, but not too comfortable so guests leave. Not stay home. It's a very nice offer, and they aren't in the elements. Beggars choosers, blah blah. Honestly, if I had to stay at someone else's home for an indeterminate amount of time, I'd love to have a camper van. It's nice not having to be at attention all the time with your host, and to have your own space where you don't feel like you're bothering them. Not having to share facilities for everything is much better. First story is titled, "Am I the a-hole for telling my mom my brother and I were not her pawns to rename when it worked for her?" I, 18 female, lost my dad when I was 8. My brother Cole was 6, my sister was 2, and my brother Logan was 4 months old. 2 years after our dad died, our mom remarried. Our mom then went through the process of trying to change all our names to his. Cole and I objected, and we actually spoke out in court saying we didn't want our names changed. We didn't want to be adopted, which my sister and Logan eventually were after they gave up on me and Cole. And the judge agreed with us since we were used to our last name. It was always a point of contention, and our mom refused to acknowledge our last name anyway and always called us the stepdad's last name, family. Always. And she would always try to get extracurriculars and stuff to use her name instead of our name, in a non-legal sense, which bugged the crap out of us. One of my teachers used to write my legal name, but call me by my stepdad's name because she and my mom were friends, and it sucked. They never stopped asking us to change it, and then around Christmas, my brother wanted to be registered for some professional art classes, and our mom tried to bargain with him that she would sign him up for the classes if he would agree to change his name. My brother said it was fine, and he wouldn't take the classes. Our mom freaked out. She called me, and she told me that we were behaving like brats and hurting her and our stepdad's feelings. I told her she needed to stop, that we weren't her little pawns to rename whenever she liked, that she had to accept we had our dad's name, and her husband was never going to be our dad, and that she had driven us both away, as well as ruined the relationship with our younger siblings, because they see us as bad for not changing our names. I told her that all of this comes back to her and trying to force us to change something we had grown used to, our last name. She told me she was doing the best thing for the family. I rejected that and told her she was doing the best thing for her, not us. We haven't talked since, and my brother said she's still pissed as hell at us both because of it. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top judgment. Not the a-hole. She told me that we were behaving like brats and hurting her and our stepdad's feelings. She is the one acting like that, not Opie. It's always projection, isn't it? Behaving like a brat and hurting the feelings of those close to you. Did the mother accidentally stumble into a room with a mirror? Not the a-hole. She is just trying to erase the fact that her husband is not your father and has consistently refused to accept your own feelings on the matter. I'm assuming by adoption, you mean your younger siblings were adopted by stepdad so that he would legally be their father while your mother stays as their mother. If so, then that would not be an a-hole move, since the distinction would matter for things like healthcare. Example, stepdad would not be able to consent on behalf of a minor, but legal adoption dad would. They wanted him to adopt all 4 of us, but Cole and I didn't want it. They delayed adopting the younger 2, but eventually realized they would never get consent for all 4 of us to be adopted. So he adopted them. Your mom is the clear antagonist in this story, but where is her husband in all of this? He can be just as forceful and pushy. Next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for lawyering up when my ex and her husband started divorce proceedings? Little background. I was deeply closeted when I married my ex-wife. I came out right after my daughter was born, and we continued on in what was basically an open marriage for 2 years, until she met her soon-to-be ex-husband and told me she wanted a divorce. It was amicable, and we co-parented with only the bare bones of a custody agreement for 10 years. I met my husband 2 years later, and we got married a couple months after it was legal. My son, then 12, was an honorary groomsman. The 4 of us get on amicably, and I will fully admit that my ex's husband has as much right to call himself their dad as I do. He cheated on her is the thing. My son, 16, was the one to discover the text that the couple lewd pictures to another woman when he was helping my ex's husband set something up on his laptop. So where we stand now is that my son is old enough that custody agreements don't apply to him, and as a result, he's living with me and my husband until things blow over. My daughter is a different story, as she's 13. So in the anticipation that the ex's husband would want partial custody, I hired a lawyer to defend my parts of the custody agreements we already had. I don't want to see her less than I already do. I don't want a stricter agreement than what we already have. And I don't want to get drawn into my ex and her soon-to-be ex's fight. So in preparation, I lawyered up. Ex of X took that news poorly and posted this whole rant on Facebook about people taking advantage of other people's misfortune and indirectly called me a vulture. He brought up the fact that my son is living with me currently and acted as if I was trying to deprive him of his kids. So, am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. The advantage of step-families like yours is that the children have more than 2 loving parents. But the disadvantage is that if one of the parents divorce, the former step-parent now legally has no rights to the children in most cases. It's wise of you to get a lawyer if the custody arrangement for your children is being revisited. And save a screenshot of that Facebook post to show the lawyer. Not the a-hole. His kids? They ain't his kids. Don't get involved with someone else and expect to still play house. Dude, this is why the sub sucks. In every post about problems with step-parents and step-kids, they are told they are the a-holes if they don't treat and love their step-kids exactly like they do their own bio-kids. And that the entire step-family, step-grandma and grandpa, are complete a-holes if they don't treat them the same. Example, paying for bio/adopted kids schooling and not step-kids. Bigger presents for bio-grandkids. The difference is, and why lots of step-parents don't treat them the same, is they aren't their parents if a divorce happens. Unless the step-parent has adopted the step-kid, there is a high chance they will not be allowed to see them anymore. Lots of step-families realize that their relationship with the step-kids only lasts until the bio-parent decides it ends. That can make bonding even more difficult, and in that many step-kids have 2 parents already. Too long didn't read. The stepdad was a freaking a-hole for cheating, but to say they ain't his kids when they were his kids up until the divorce is messed up to the kid and to the adult. Parent-kid relationships don't end when a divorce paper is signed and it's, "Bye, I know I treated you like you were my own, but see ya." A kid doesn't understand why step-parent who was their parent in all the ways their bio-parent was, suddenly isn't anymore. Talk about damaging a kid. Don't punish a kid because of a divorce. Unless there was abuse or the kid hated a step-parent. This case, it sounds like from what Opie said, this ex-step-parent was a great parent. Not Dayhole. They are your kids unless he adopted them, which it doesn't sound like he did. Also, protect your retirement right now. Your ex, if she is broke after the divorce, might become desperate for funds and try to revisit your divorce settlement. Some states allow this, Florida for one, some don't. Be proactive on this. Now for the next story. Am I the a-hole for refusing to let my ex have anything of our daughter's belongings? My daughter was born with a chronic heart condition. We spent months in the hospital. At the time, my ex started complaining that this was too much, and her family suggested that she get some rest from the stress aside from postpartum. Her family said they were worried for their daughter. However, they didn't care much about their granddaughter. They told me that their daughter's physical and emotional health was more important than my daughter's. Her family hated me, and I know that they secretly wished that my daughter die so they could get rid of me and have nothing to do with me. My ex's family didn't let me talk to my ex about our daughter. They even sent me texts telling me they can't wait for this to be over and for their daughter to move on. I'm not gonna lie, I resent them for that. When my daughter was 6 months old, my ex left the apartment and left our daughter at my mom's house. She said she couldn't live with me because of those circumstances. She just couldn't handle the responsibility and saw no future with me. We were only engaged at the time, so I got the ring back and I became my daughter's only present. It was only me and my mom at the hospital. At some point, I had to beg my ex's family for money, but was being told to get the hell out of their house and not come back several times, telling me it wasn't their problem since their daughter rented it. They called me pathetic and even said they'd get the state to take my daughter because of how irresponsible I was. I stopped talking to them. I had to do all I can and come up with the money. My daughter had undergone 2 surgeries and medication didn't improve her condition. She eventually passed away 3 months ago. She was only 3.5 years old. Didn't even get a decent birthday celebration that I was planning for her 4th year. I was devastated. I felt like my ex and her family won. This past week, I was surprised to see my ex at my door and lashing out and calling me nasty names. She kept yelling at me, asking how I could do this to her, and not let her know that her baby passed away and that had to hear from a mutual friend. I didn't want to talk, so I told her to leave. I had so much anger from seeing her, and there was no guarantee I wasn't going to do anything stupid. Her family played along in berating me and calling me cruel. Yesterday, she showed up with her sister wanting to take some of my daughter's belongings. I refused and told her to leave. My mom was there. She told me to stop and let her in to take what she wanted, but I yelled at her and told her that she has no rights because everything was bought by me. Despite not having money, I managed to buy her toys and clothes, while my ex and her family turned their back on their own blood. She's now talking to my friends to pressure me into letting her take my daughter's things. I kept ignoring them, but at this point, there's no avoiding it. The reason her family never accepted me is because they think they're better than me. They claim that I was with her for money. I was 25 and she was 30 when we started dating. To them, that was an obvious sign that I was with her for money, and they made sure I got nothing, even when they saw me struggling trying to provide for their granddaughter. They controlled my ex, banned me from moving to her place, and insulted my living situation, and cut any support to their own daughter to get her to realize that she made a mistake and leave. But with our daughter in the picture, things got complicated. But they got what they wanted eventually. Now for the top comments. Not Dayhole. She chose to not be involved in the kid's life. That's on her. She's not entitled to souvenirs now. She doesn't want a souvenir. Those are for memories. What could she possibly have memories of? She wants to resell them for cash. Not Dayhole. She effectively abandoned her living child. And she's come back to... what? Keep the scraps of her memory? With the money you used to buy those things. She should have been there to have solid real memories when your daughter was alive and needed her mother. I'm so sorry this happened to you. I wish you all the comfort and peace in your time of grieving. There's no peace at this point. I keep refusing and she keeps pushing. I'm literally losing it and her family won't leave me alone. I guess they only care about looking good to outsiders, constantly claiming confusion and playing innocent. I'm done with their BS. And lately, I have been thinking about moving away, but now I'm seriously considering it. Not Dayhall. Your ex is a pretty poor excuse for a human being, and it seems that's probably hereditary. Demanding things from your daughter that you purchased is about as low as you can get, given the circumstances. The only items I would let her anywhere near were items that she or her family purchased. If you've got anything that they provided, perhaps post or courier them to them. As if it was me, I probably wouldn't want anything from them in my living space. But I would not let any of them enter your property, ever. Take out a restraining order or report them to police if you need to. Just make sure they keep their distance. Condolences for your loss. It's a pretty difficult scenario to have to go through. The last story is titled, Am I the a-hole for telling my wife that it is her fault that our son doesn't tell her anything? Me, 45 male, and my wife, 42 female, are currently going through a divorce. We have been married for 17 years, and the past few haven't been the best in my opinion. We have 3 kids, 11 female, 14 female, 17 male, and the custody has been a big issue and has caused many arguments. The main argument is happening because our son, unprompted, asked if I could have sole custody of him. This request absolutely floored my wife. She couldn't understand why this was happening and accused me of coercing our son. The thing is that my wife and son haven't had a decent relationship in a long time. He started getting noticeably distant from her when he was 8, and while it got slightly better when he was about 14, it has since taken a nosedive. In my opinion, my wife has some really narcissistic tendencies. She can find a way to make anything about herself. She even did this when we found out about our son's mental health struggle and attempts, despite her admitting that she never went through that. Sorry for the rambling, on to my question. Our son is currently in his last year of college and has been applying to unis and other forms of higher education. Like almost every student, he has a dream school. This school is oversubscribed and ridiculously hard to get into. The course he wants to do for his undergrad has 28 spots. This is a well-known school in my country's capital city, so you can imagine how many applicants there are. Last week, my son came to me sobbing. He was so overwhelmed that he couldn't even talk. He just handed me a letter. It was his acceptance letter for his dream school. I just hugged him and let him cry and told him how proud I was of him. Fast forward to yesterday, the topic of funding our kids' education came up. Like how we would split costs for school clubs, trips, university, and college. During this, my wife said she had no idea what our son's university tuition would cost, or if he's even going to a university. I knew his yearly tuition cost £14,000, so I told this to my wife. She asked how the hell I knew this. I told her that our son had been accepted into his dream school, so I knew the exact costs. She started freaking out and asked me when this happened. I told her that he got the letter last week. She started yelling at me for keeping this from her. I told her that our son came and told me of his own accord and that it was his news to share with who he wants to. Here's where I might be the a-hole. I then told her that it was her fault that our son didn't share this with her. She asked me what I meant, and I explained that they didn't really have a relationship and that her ridiculously high expectations for him drove him away. She then stormed off. Looking back on it, that probably was way too harsh. I know that she's going through a lot right now and probably doesn't need reminding of her relationship, or lack thereof, with our son. I still stand by my point. So am I the a-hole? Edit. Sorry for the confusion about the fees not adding up. The school is private and separate from UCAS. That's why the tuition is so high. Not the a-hole. Her reaction to her son being accepted to his dream school was to get angry because of how she found out. That tells me everything I need to know about her. Congrats to you and the kid. Hard work pays off. I thought that as well. She never even gave any indication that she was proud or impressed or happy for him. Not the a-hole. Maybe it was a little harsh, but you're right. It was your son's free will. If your wife doesn't bother to have a great relationship with her son, it isn't your fault for pointing it out. Congrats to your son for getting into his dream college. You seem like a great dad. No a-holes here. Her past actions have consequences. She can't expect anything more. Though, maybe try and encourage your son to let her know, out of courtesy, about huge things like this, such as university, work, etc. Especially if she's going to be paying towards these things, that gives her a right to know. He by no means has to share personal things with her though. This is fairer. She can't expect to be told about decisions that affect her finances. This was a conversation about how they would be splitting costs for son's school, and Opie is getting all it's his news to share or not about it while asking for thousands of dollars a year to pay for it? You can't be all you don't deserve to know these things, your bill is $8,000. Come on. Would like to hear the other side of this, honestly. Until then, I think it's no a-holes here. And that's the end of this video, folks. As always, leave a comment and hit like and subscribe. And if you want more of this content, turn your notification on to get updated on the latest videos. And I'll catch you in the next one. Stay safe. Am I the a-hole for pointing out my dad's failure as a parent after he tried to critique mine? My wife and I didn't meet in the most conventional way. She was my late brother's wife. We had lost him when she was 5 months pregnant with her son, my nephew. She stayed close to the family and we all adored my nephew. I was more involved in his life and wanted to share as much of my brother with him as possible. My wife and I became each other's support through our grief, became very close friends. And, well, 7 years after, we realized we had feelings for each other. With my nephew's blessing, we began dating. Not everyone in my family was on board, but they did eventually. We've been together 9 years, married for 6, and have a 7-year-old daughter who my nephew, 16, loves more than anything. Biologically, we know they are both siblings/cousins, and that's something we didn't want to hide from her. Especially because we still talk about my brother, and he will always be my nephew's father no matter what. She's known from a young age, and it really hasn't been an issue. They still love each other and act like siblings. My dad's come back into picture recently. We haven't heard from him since my brother's funeral, but it's not like he was around much before that. He knows now that I've been married to my wife and we have a daughter together. But he got mad when he asked about if she knows, and I told him she's been told. That's not something we want to treat like a major secret after all. My dad started going off about how irresponsible that is, and she didn't need to know. Now for sure we've messed her up mentally. I just thought it was funny that he of all people thought he could lecture me on how to properly raise a child, given that he was barely around and left my mom to raise us. That's what I told him too, and he got even more mad. Pretty much said I don't have a right to insult him for things he did in the past, when he's just trying to point out a mistake we've made right now. I don't know if that's really a valid argument, but now he's acting like I've insulted his entire existence just for trying to give me some guidance. Was I the a-hole for this? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole at all. He doesn't get to swoop in from his self-imposed exile and critique. Here's an unsolicited well done on handling the situation with the kids from a stranger on the internet too. It would be one thing if the dad wasn't being judgmental and was like, look, I screwed up years ago doing X and regret it. I don't want you to make the same mistake like I did and suffer. But being judgmental and condescending while trying to whitewash his own actions is hypocrisy. No surprise he got called out. Not the a-hole. You'd be far, far more likely to do damage to your daughter by hiding something like that. And she would inevitably find out at some point and realize her entire life had been built on a lie. It's an unusual circumstance, and she should absolutely know about it. Your dad is way off base. And he has absolutely zero right to lecture you about it when he hasn't even been a parent to you. Not the a-hole. I'm back, son, and I'm here to tell you what you're doing wrong. What a great way to repair a messed up relationship. At this rate, they'll be father and son in no time. Definitely not the a-hole. I think that you did a good job by telling her early, because at some point, some stupid people will tell her. Probably to be mean or something. With her knowing and growing up with it being normal, it won't hurt her. And to be honest, I do not think that it is something to be ashamed of at all. I mean, they are even more related than half-siblings, which I think is awesome in this context. The death of your brother really is tragic and sad. But with your daughter and you, Your nephew has direct family which is a part of his dad as well. Your father was wrong. That was always the goal. We never want her to feel weird about it, or like we intentionally kept something dark from her, and it hasn't impacted their relationship as siblings at all. Thank you. Next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for not helping my brother-in-law and my sister with their debt? I've owned many successful small businesses over the years, so I have a lot of experience in all kinds of retail at many levels, to say the least. My sister and brother-in-law were thinking of starting their own, so they asked me for my help and advice. I spoke to them over the phone, going over the basics and links to some good websites to take a look at. After about a few weeks of speaking to them, they said they didn't want my help anymore. When I asked why they said that, they said they were told differently by an experienced accountant they knew from church. This so-called accountant was not only giving them bad advice, some of it was downright illegal. I told them this, and they said that I didn't know what I was talking about since he was a CPA, certified public accountant. I did a little digging on this guy, and he had no credentials whatsoever, and he had dropped out of community college after a year. I warned them not once, but twice that this guy was going to get them tossed in jail for tax fraud. My brother-in-law gave him fiduciary control so he could take care of financial responsibilities. Not even a year later, the guy took every liquid asset they could find and disappeared. He not only stole everything, he ran off with everything they had, got a few more company credit cards, maxed them out, got lines of credit with some parts companies, ordered parts and then sold them on the side for cash. Brother-in-law and sister's company blew up. They lost their house and almost went to jail. Not only that, they are in massive debt that I don't think they will ever be able to pay off. I feel horrible for their daughter, who most likely won't be going to her dream college because of all this. They are now asking family members for help, and they are so graciously giving them everything they can spare. Then they asked me, and apologized, then asked if they could have some help financially. I accepted the apology, but said no, stating that I warned them and they ignored me. They left, but not without begging and crying. So now I am being painted as the a-hole by family and friends. I want to state that I am not rich by any means, but I am doing really well financially. I've worked hard to where I've gotten today, and although I could have spared something, I didn't feel obligated to. Am I the a-hole here? Not the a-hole. They dug their own hole. What might be a nice gesture, though, is to put some money into a trust for your niece to help with college that parents can't touch. Not the a-hole. You warned them repeatedly. Could always create a college fund for their daughter if you felt so moved, so she doesn't suffer for their ineptitude. But that's not something you have to do. Not the a-hole. These two people are a waste of your money. You had already warned them. They'll just do something stupid again once they achieve financial freedom on your dime. Honestly, people this stupid deserve what they get. Do not waste your money on them. Sounds like they wanted to get rich quick and not have to do the hard work, and even gave over control to a loser. Not sure why. After multiple attempts to help them up front, you should bail them out now. If you want to help the niece, you can, but that's not necessary either. Not the a-hole. Your sister and brother-in-law are grown adults who got themselves in this mess. If you are able, help your niece with some college expenses. Not the a-hole. They ignored your advice and warnings multiple times and followed a snake oil salesman into get-rich-quick scheme. They were greedy and looking for cheats and shortcuts, and that made them easy marks for a charlatan. This is karma at its most recognizable. If you are concerned about the daughter, you could set up a college fund for her that the family can pay into but that her parents can't touch. But you don't really owe them anything. Now for the next story. Am I the a-hole for refusing to purchase a baby gift for my cousin's second baby shower? I'm 26 female, found out that my cousin Beth, 35 female, is pregnant with her second child. I'm happy for her obviously, but she and I have never been close. I love to sew, and whenever I find out a family member or friend is expecting a baby, I make them a nice baby blanket for them. I feel like it is a nice personalized gift that you can't get anywhere else, and I always make sure to get soft, high-quality material to ensure it is both safe and comfortable. Everyone who received a blanket from me always praised the craftsmanship, and that their children still snuggle with it well into their childhood. I made a nice blue baby blanket with puppies on it for Beth's first child, and whenever I go to visit, he always was carrying it around. I also mentioned to anyone who was given a blanket to call me if they have concerns about it, such as bunching cotton or loose thread, so I can fix it up for them. I've never gotten any complaints, so I must be doing it correctly. Recently, I got an email from Beth reminding everyone about her upcoming baby shower. It is a drive-by due to the pandemic, and had added a gift registration for guests to sign off on. I looked through it and was amazed about how expensive everything was. I understand that baby supplies can be pricey, but the cheapest thing on the registration is a stuffed rabbit costing $25. There were a lot of other things I find personally silly and inappropriate to ask for from family, such as nip cream, new pajamas for Beth, not baby, maternity diapers, etc. As a university student, I can't afford these things, and figured a blanket I made would be a sweet gift. I texted my cousin and let her know that I could not really afford some of the items she asked for, but I would be more than happy to make a personalized baby blanket to match the nursery, woodland themed. I got a text back immediately from her saying that I had to pick something from the registry or purchase a gift card from Babies R Us with a minimum amount of $100. I asked if there was an issue with her son's blanket that would warrant her refusal of accepting my gift, and she stated that because it was homemade, it looked tacky, and it made her look cheap for not having a tag attached to it. Here's where I may be the a-hole. I responded that I, under no circumstances, will be applying to her gift registration, and now she could kiss the baby blanket goodbye. Beth became upset, stating that I was a cheapskate and was depriving her unborn baby of needed supplies. I pointed out that she still had plenty of toys, books, old clothes, strollers, etc. from her first child that she could still use. She went quiet for a few days, and then messaged me this morning saying she'll take the blanket. I am still pissed, so I told her no, and I will no longer be attending her shower. Now I have cousins and aunts flooding my phone with complaints on how I'm a bad person. My parents are on my side, however. So now I'm here, wanting to know if I am the a-hole. Am I? Now for the comments. Not the a-hole. That's a baby shower you can skip without guilt. I don't know how many people who can drop $100 on a present. And it's a shower, not a VIP lounge. Heaven forbid she has a third child. The prices will be minimum $300. Rejecting a handmade gift is a jerk move anyway, especially since your older kid was using the blanket you made. Edit. This hits pretty close to home because I make crochet blankets as gifts. I let parents know that I would like the blankets to be used, that's what it meant for, and loved. So many of us, as adults, remember having a special blanket, stuffy, or toy that we carried around. It's even more special if it's a blankie that a relative lovingly made. I'm imagining cousin's second kid as an adult going through her childhood toys, holding up a $75 stuffed bunny that was too nice for her to play with, and rolling her eyes. Opie, your cousin is being very unkind, but would you consider making a blankie anyway and giving it to baby later on? You don't have to participate in her comically overblown baby shower social event of the season. Gag. That's obviously to get Instagram clout. One of the few things I remember from being in labor with my first child, long labor, ended in unplanned C-section, my memory of most of those days is foggy, is of my late, absolutely adored godmother standing in my hospital room, needing at sonic speed to make sure my daughter's lovely blanket was finished before she was born. That blanket was and is a treasure. Not an a-hole on many levels. Let's list the ways she's an a-hole. She insulted your first gift. She's having a second shower doll, especially if she has stuff from her first kid. It's not an actual shower, even a Zoom event. It's a gift grab. She reminded you to buy her something. Not RSVP, not bring napkins or soda, not give a Zoom link or directions. Her registry has no reasonable items. People who do that get bottles or puffy books from me with $10 max budget. She gave a minimum spending limit at all. That limit was ridiculous. She turned you down and then set her family on you. On the other hand, you offered a very thoughtful, customized, handmade gift of good quality and didn't call out any of her previous BS. Feel free to stop taking the high road at any time. or just repeat one reply they send. She told me she didn't want a blanket because her first one was tacky and made her look cheap. I'm respecting her wishes. Anyone with any amount of sense knows how much more valuable of a gift a homemade blanket is than a store-bought one. You forgot one. She demanded a minimum of $100 from a university student. Not a hall. She's a choosy beggar who then doubled down and drilled a bunch of family as her flying monkeys. Ditch them all. For the last story, am I the a-hole for giving my daughter more attention than my sons? 3 years ago, my 40 female husband, 39 male at the time, died in a car crash. My daughter Kate, 10, was in the car with him. Luckily, Kate wasn't seriously injured, but she has severe anxiety and PTSD from the crash. Kate's PTSD relapsed, and she's having nightmares to the point where she wakes up screaming almost every night, has flashbacks at least once a day, and she's extremely attached to me. She's working with a therapist and is slowly getting better. She didn't wake up screaming last night, but she still needs a lot of attention. I used to make dinner with my oldest, 17 male, while Kate played in her room, but now she usually makes dinner with us, and when she's not, she's sitting at the kitchen table watching. I also used to watch a movie with my oldest and my middle son, 16 male, after Kate went to bed, but now our bedtime routine takes longer. I used to braid her hair and tuck her in, but now I braid her hair, tuck her in, and read to her until she falls asleep because it helps her calm down. And I don't have time to watch a full movie with them. Last night, Kate fell asleep pretty fast, so I had time to watch a movie with my sons. But when I asked them if they wanted to watch a movie, they told me to go back to Kate's room since I'd obviously rather be with her anyway. I tried to explain that she needs this right now, but they wouldn't hear it. Am I the a-hole for giving my daughter more attention? Edit. I'm realizing that I didn't make this clear in the post, but Kate hasn't been like this for 3 years. She's had anxiety and PTSD since the crash, but it's been manageable until around 2 weeks ago when her PTSD relapsed. I hate to say it, but you're the a-hole. You have 3 children. Yes, your daughter is going to need a lot of help right now, but so are your boys. They lost their father too. I suggest getting individual therapy for everyone, including you, and apologize to your sons for not being there for them. Everyone's already in individual therapy. Y'all clearly need group as well. This is so tough. Very, very, very soft, you're the a-hole. Yes, Kate probably needs you right now more than so than them, but they all lost their dad. They all need you. I don't see the harm in extending Kate's bedtime routine, but you need to find some way of making it up to the others. Maybe a day of just them. Or maybe find a TV show that's only 30 minutes you can watch at night with them if there's no time for a movie. You should also think about having family dinners again to keep that open communication. They lost their father too, and need you. I know Opie edited to say that Kate has only relapsed recently, but I think it would be good for Opie to seriously consider if her other kids were already getting the dregs of her attention. I think it would still be understandable, but I find it unlikely they reacted this way because of a reasonable 2-week shift in priorities. I think this might be above our pay grade, honestly. Really, this is the only answer. I don't understand people calling someone the a-hole when they lost their spouse and are trying to take care of 3 kids alone. They'd probably also call Opie the a-hole if she was ignoring her daughter to make her sons happy. It's a rough situation for everyone, and impossible for others to judge.